Police are still searching for the suspect behind the lorry attack on a Christmas market in Berlin. Yesterday, prosecutors released a Pakistani refugee they had detained, saying there was insufficient evidence to hold him. The Islamic State group has claimed it carried out the attack. Last night, the German Chancellor, Angela Merkel, was among those taking part in a vigil at the Kaiser Wilhelm Memorial Church right next to the scene of the attack. Let's speak now to Simon Schofield, a senior fellow and acting director of the think tank, the Human Security Centre in Bristol. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. I'm sure it's quite sort of easy for a group to claim responsibility for an attack like this. I mean, should we take it as read that this is correct?
Well, Islamic State have a history of being surprisingly strict with the sorts of attacks that they would take credit for, and they have had opportunities to take credits for attacks in the past that weren't carried out by them, and they didn't take those chances. So I think the chances are that this is a legitimate claim of responsibility.
And why have groups like IS started to use these types of methods?
Well, it's a response to modern counter-terrorism techniques. We're a victim of our own success in that sense, in the spectacular bombings, whilst the preferred option are not normally an option in this case because they're too easy to intercept, and so they go for the low-tech attack of the lorry driver or the gun or the knife, as we've seen in Israel-Palestine in the past. That's often a good way of seeing what future trends of terrorism in Europe look like.
And the German authorities have now released this man that they were questioning, citing insufficient evidence. So what's your view of what might have happened there, and who or how many they may still be searching for?
Well, I wouldn't want to speculate exactly on the circumstances in which this man was arrested. I don't think any of us really understand, but the man involved was a man called Navid Baluch, and he's from Baluchistan, which is a country similar to Kurdistan, currently occupied by Pakistan, and he's from a particularly secular area in that place, so I'd be very surprised if he was involved in jihadism.
And it's interesting, I heard yesterday that there's not as much CCTV in Berlin as there might be here and perhaps in other countries. Do you think, will the police still have enough to go on, to try and trace the movements of anyone involved in this attack?
It's difficult to say. The United Kingdom has the highest levels of CCTV almost anywhere in the world, and so it's unlikely that they would have as much CCTV as we do here. Whether they've got enough to go on, I think only they will know for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, just talking about the situation here, obviously the security situation will have heightened since this. A lot of, Christmas markets around the UK and Christmas and New Year event organisers, indeed across the UK and Europe, obviously gearing up for big celebrations. How much of an impact do you think this will have on how they review their security?
Well, I think inevitably security will have to be heightened, although in some cases armed police were already deployed. If you look at the Christmas markets in Newcastle, for example, the police had already deployed armed units there before this attack, and I dare say that that trend will just continue upwards. It will probably require the installation of other physical security measures like bollards as well to ensure that unauthorised vehicles can't access these kinds of markets.
And is that the best, we can do when there is an attack like this? It's such, I suppose, unpredictable and a random thing. Is it just a matter of trying to put in preventative measures like bollards in sort of public places like that?
It's very difficult to say. They use leaderless resistance is the name of the model, which means that there is no centralized direction. Islamic State puts out magazines that say this is how you carry out an attack should you want to do one, and they leave the how and the when to the individuals involved. So it's a difficult task for the intelligence agencies. In counter-terrorism, it's very much like being a goalkeeper. Even the best goalkeepers in the world are going to let in a couple of goals. It's just not possible to stop every single attack.
Okay, well, thank you very much for speaking to us this morning. Simon Schofield there from the Human Security Centre